After the uprising, the city struggled with how to heal the racial and economic wounds that remain. Several nonprofit organizations were founded with the goal of improving the quality of life for African Americans. Joining me now from institutions that were established following the rebellion are Focus Hope CEO Jason Lee and Rod Gillum, Trustee Emeritus at New Detroit. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Jason, I'm going to start with you. Focus Hope, founded by Eleanor Jositis and Father Bill Cunningham in 1968. The idea was we can do better than this. We can do better by our own people here in the city of Detroit. 50 years later, are we?
Well, I think that the challenges that created the 1967 civil unrest or riots are still prevalent here today in our community. We have not fixed education. And every day we at Focus Hope see the product of a failed education system, a failed incarceration system, coming through our doors looking for hope, looking for training, looking for opportunities, and we're there every day to support them in that initiatives. So we are still seeing those challenges, and I don't believe we fixed the problem today.
Yeah. Rod, New Detroit was aimed specifically at that racial gap between Detroiters, making that a little more harmonious. Sometimes I think we're making some progress there. Other times I want to throw something through a window. It's one step ahead, two steps back sometimes.
So if you look at 67 and the reaction to what was happening in the environment at that time, when you applied for a job, when you went to go buy or rent a home, or your interaction with the police department, all of which had an environment that this population was less than. Mm-hmm. And in that context, New Detroit kind of came out and said, we need to talk about that, because that's not the feeling in this community, should never be the feeling in this community. So race became front and center. And with the establishment of New Detroit, really the impetus was Governor Romney making a phone call saying that the public institutions have failed this black population. We need to step up to that. And so this New Detroit Coalition was formed at that time and continues today.
Yeah. How much has the conversation changed in 50 years? Are we talking about the same things, or are they different?
Well, I think the issues are still the same. Yeah. They exhibit themselves in different ways, perhaps in some instances not as blatant, but still the divide is there. And what New Detroit intends to do is to make issues around race very visible, to engage others, to make certain that there are very candid discussions specifically targeted on that word. I mean, if you're going to have racial healing, then it has to be something as a result of dialogue and other perspectives. And New Detroit, kind of the coalition of business, for-profits, nonprofits, labor, various ethnic groups as well, all who are engaged in conversations around race.
Yeah, yeah. Jason, Focus Hope is really geared up to try to solve the employment problems that we have here in Detroit. Talk about how that looks maybe worse now than it did 50 years ago. I mean, there are people being left behind in new ways, I feel like, in the city of Detroit.
Right. So the average person coming through our doors in our workforce training programs, they all have either a GED or high school diploma. Unfortunately, when we test an individual, they're testing at middle school levels. Yeah. And so
even though they've been graduated from our school system or some other.
Absolutely. So the education crisis is so significant, and it plays out beyond just the K-12 experience. And we see this every day. About 25% of our students, or actually to a third, have some level of incarceration on their record. And then over 50% of our population coming through for workforce training is dealing with poverty situations and challenges. Now also dealing with mental health. You create a package where individuals are struggling with things that are so systematic. And what we do at Focus Hope, we provide not only a level of academic and workforce training, we also provide a level of support that oftentimes these individuals don't have within their respective households or within their respective family structures. Right. And that's what makes us more successful than others.
Yeah. What about the availability of jobs in the city of Detroit? I mean, even if you can get to the place where you're qualified, have the skills, still tough to find employment.
Absolutely, and the critical is the lack of transportation to those jobs. From a regional standpoint, traditionally the African American community has had opportunities in manufacturing. Well, many of the manufacturing plants are outside the boundaries of the city of Detroit in most cases.
How do you get there
Right.
if you live in many parts of the city?
And so the jobs that are being created downtown have a more of a technology, have a higher pedigree of academic and experiences that many individuals are having challenges in terms of meeting.
Yeah, that support that you guys give, that's so important. If you didn't have to do that, it seems like we'd be much further ahead. The other institutions who are supposed to be supporting people are still failing.
Yes, so we see this in the retention within the community colleges and the 40 institutions, as well as entry into, say, apprenticeship programs throughout the region. And we have taken a different approach, engaging individuals where they are academically, socially, emotionally, and providing a triage of services that make them successful.
Yeah, okay. Jason Lee, Rod Gillum, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.